here, and its meaning is let peace be spread. Let the ocean be as smooth as Ho'onamu. May the way ahead of you, your pathway ahead, be sparkling and iridescent. Love to all of you and love to me, all of us together. Let's be united and ready to pursue our purposes. Kia ora te marino, kia whakapapa ponamu te moana, kia tere te kārohirohi, kia mua I o tātou huarahi, aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa, haumie, huie, taikie. So welcome to everyone in this first Hui of the year, and let me check if for anyone this is their first Hui. I think I recognize most names and faces, but is there anyone for whom it's the very first? I think not. We are a happy band of people who are starting to know each other. So for our little intro, welcome, warming up bit, Marlene is going to divide us into groups of 4, which is kind of getting to know 3 other people a bit better. The groups will be random, and talking to each other for a few minutes about what you hope for a year of forum action and what you hope to contribute to this. So Marlene will now do her magic thing. While she's doing it, I'll just repeat what you hope for the forum this year and what you want to contribute.
Right. Welcome back, everybody. Oh yeah, Joanna.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I hope your groups were as productive as my group, which had a very strong message of getting more people involved to push governments much harder on this. Okay. Now, I just will say something about, well, the agenda will be a look at the context, a very quick, broad brush strokes look at the context in which we're operating, a look back at 2021, in which Marlene will comment on what we accomplished in the last year, and a look ahead at the coming year and what we hope to accomplish and how we'll do it together. So, very quick survey of context. This last year was the hottest New Zealand year on record, a signal to us of where we are in global heating. New Zealand's emissions, largely unchanged for 20 years, remained at just under 80 million tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent, as far as we can tell, because there is a time lag in getting the current figures. And about 1.2 million tonnes of that belongs to us in Nelson, Tasman. And while there were some detailed changes, there has not been a big change in what we emit. So 2021 is the second year in this decade of transformation in which we need to halve our emissions or very near to that by 2030. And from the world of science, we are getting warning after warning that we're running out of time, and that a hotter or much hotter world will be a terrible legacy for the young people in all of our lives. We hoped during the year that COP26 in November would commit nations to a proportionate action, and those hopes were disappointed. Meanwhile, COVID makes it hard for us to meet together, but we have adapted, I think, pretty well to that. And in that context, with what we face and the constraints that we experience, the staunch heroes of the Climate Forum didn't falter in their output. People worked hard in a great variety of ways throughout 2021 and accomplished important things, as you'll now hear from Marlene.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Joanna. I will just put my share my screen and make you an update. Are you all right with my screen? Just put the diaporama in. Yeah. So I mean, Joanna made the broader context, and I would just focus on the forum and all the things that we've achieved in 2021, because I think sometimes that's really important to see that. I mean, it's encouraging or not. We'll see. But yeah, I think we did quite a lot. So just would like to just resume last year as a year with two major phases. One, the first phase is so beginning of the year under maybe Julie Nevin chair. It was really organizing the forum in order to be operational in the long run. And I would say that the second part of the year was really preparing for the action phase, or already action phase. But yeah, lots of preparing. But yeah, we did a lot of things. So let's remember that we developed a sense of community around climate. We adopted our funding documents, which are the charter, the climate action book, the weaving plan. We met, we gathered together. We had a few face-to-face and online Hui, 10 in total, and we had a good amount of participants. And during these events and this Hui, we took care of celebrating the successes and also making group updates, just to exchange and on what we did together. So that was the first thing we achieved. As I said already, we achieved to be a good organized structure. One important thing is that we secured some fundings, substantial ones, in order to have a part-time paid team. So yeah, the funding are mainly from Nelson City Council, and also from the Rata Foundation, and Tasman District Council is covering some venue costs. So, but anyway, with all these fundings, we've got a nice team. We've got Christina, me, and Anya as the paid team, and we've got Joanna, which is really part of the team because she's working like us. So I would like to emphasize that. I mean, like all of us also. Yeah, just to tell you that so we've learned to work with each other, and we are just in the making of some role descriptions between us, and we are going to share them soon with you, so you can all know who's doing what and where to go if you've got questions. So just, I mean, that's a work in progress, but we are working on that too. So that was for
Marlene, could I just interrupt for a second? Yeah. We're not seeing your slides pass by.
No? Oh, Okay.
I know you have some excellent slides.
Oh, you don't see the
illustrating what
pictures
you're
then. I'm
saying.
sorry. Okay. So
That's all right. We want to see that picture.
And now do you see that oh, I'm sorry.
Just see the first slide.
No, we can just see the first slide.
That's frustrating.
You must be showing the wrong screen, essentially.
Oh, you've understood that the technology and I was really okay. Sorry for that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay. Do you see more? Do you see the? Is it?
We can see the development.
Yes.
So you saw that. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry because I was. Thank you, Joanna, for interrupting me. So that's the climate. The sense of community. And now, yeah. So these are us and the pictures. So I was there. Yeah. So we had we've also achieved some operational procedure where we've got some rules that we take our decision with consensus. That we explain what is the leadership group, who's there. So lots of interesting operational things. And yeah, speaking of the leadership group, we've got a really nice leadership group meeting once a month to really take care of the orientation of the forum. And I think that's important to underline that this leadership group is as IRI representatives as well as a council representative. So also, yeah, we've got also a good finance follow-up, also a finance committee group making a lot of work there, including working on additional grants. So we've got a few additional grants for projects. So yeah, it's important to know that you can also go there if you want some help for one of your projects and you seek more funding. Yeah. So another achievement, and I will be quick on this, that's all the reflection that we had during our UI. I will not, but yeah, I think you all know that we had a few reflections. Concerning the group and the project, yeah, you can see that amongst the main projects in 2021, we've got a few that have been done. I mean, I won't go on all of them, but we are doing things. Yeah, and especially also on that topic, I think the first part of the year was we were busy with the weaving plan. So, and the objective of this weaving plan was to formalize and share within all the forum what everybody was doing, because there was not a cross. It was not so easy to know who was doing what. So that was the first step. The weaving plan was the first step. But then came Christina, which is the new volunteer project and funding coordinator, who was there to really focus on supporting the groups, facilitating the cross group meetings. So she's really doing a job of sharing information and helping. And and we develop with her new processes, of course, because we've got new projects, new requests, and so we need more process just to be fair and transparent and with everybody in the forum. And one of these process is the implementation of a new project funding application process. And so maybe I'm sure most of you have heard of it, because we've got a good amount of, a nice budget for the projects now. So that's also a really nice achievement for this year. Another nice achievement is submission process. So we made some advocacy work. And here I would like also to thank the work of Julie Cave, who put all the relevant submissions. She's doing an amazing job of looking at lots of websites to see what could concern the climate and us. And so she added them onto the website. So that's really important to go and have a look often there, because it's quite dense. And so from there, a few groups, I've taken some submissions and responded to them. And also we developed last year a new process for forum under submission. So all the signatories can have a word on what we answer. And so far we've got two submissions we have been answered in the name of the Whole Forum. So that's also really nice because it means that we can achieve in the consensus lots and big things. So this, yeah, don't forget we don't have to forget the communication side. So that's the work of Anya, which was supported by the Spreadcom group. But yeah, we've got a presence in the media. We've got a monthly newsletter that we try to improve every month. With new chapters. Yeah, we really would like it to be something that feed you, that everybody wants to open because there are lots of information there. An increasing presence on social media. The two main are Facebook and Instagram. And some awards. I think there was the Chamber of Commerce Awards and another one. The Elko Bosweg Civic Awards. Anya, if you can correct me, but I think that's it.
Yes, yeah, we entered another couple, but we didn't get anywhere with those. But yeah, it's good experience to enter.
Yeah, and so that's my last slide. The forum in its community. So it's the forum and us. I spoke about the charter, but this charter has been put to the signature of lots of people. And so far we've got 83 signatories. And among the signatories, there are 8 organizations. So that's also nice to underline. We've got 44 climate allies and 4 partner organizations. So some organizations have signed as signatories and some as partner. But yeah, also nice to underline that among these signatories, members are the 2 councils. And here I take the opportunity to say that if it's not already done, I really invite you to sign this charter if you want to support the work of the forum, because it gives more weight to the forum. The forum and its community, it's also you, all the incredible volunteers. I've named a few of you only, and there are so many to name, but we've got already a lot of volunteers hours that we have counted so far, but really broadly. Maybe Christina will come to you with a more precise request about that, but just to say that from a really broad counting, we've got already 1,500 volunteers hours counted. So yeah, thank you to all, and thank you for listening to this short review of the last year.
Thank you very much, Marlene. That was a very helpful overview of the really quite immense amount of work that's issued from this forum in 2021. Let me invite you to comment on the accomplishments of 2021, and your comments can either be encouraging, celebratory, or critical. So let us hear from you about your thoughts on what we did in 2021. We've got several minutes available for your own reflections on what we did in the last year. And your satisfaction with, or otherwise, with what we managed to do in the last year.
I'll go first. I want to say that I thought that the submissions were a major piece of work. I only know kind of from the waste group because we put in most effort to that, but I know Bruno put in a huge effort for the transport, and there was a big group of people who put in a colossal last minute, very under the gun amount of work for the emissions reduction plan. And I know that a lot of us put in individual submissions, and I think that those things are really, really important. I've come to think that maybe they're some of the more important things we can do, because without central government doing, our individual efforts are a bit puny. So, and I really think that it's a major effort to get people agreeing to, people have got various views, and to kind of collaborate those submissions is a major piece of work. And I would like to say that I think Joanna is a pretty amazing consensus builder, and yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you, Sharon, very much. Any further comments on what we did in the last year? Just scanning this. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just a couple of things, I suppose. So a lot of what Marlene talked about is internal forum stuff, which is important. And so that's a lot of water under the bridge, if you like. Things have been sorted. So I think, again, looking forward to the future, and maybe this is not right, but we've got a lot of that done now. So we should probably in the future look more externally. We've got the internal thing sorted. So that's sort of one reflection. And the other is the activities of the different groups. They're useful in their own way, but that in itself is not going to achieve the transformation that we need. So this outreach and getting out to the community and behavior change is going to become a really big thing for us, I think.
Thank you. Totally agree. Thanks. Colin.
Yeah, can I just say something from the point of view of the schools group? Because really, I joined it a bit late, but now I'm coordinator for my sins. But I just feel we're struggling to make sense of what we need to do. That the people we're targeting are the people who most need inputs on understanding climate change, what it is, why it is, how it's going to affect them, because they're going to be here when we're all gone, and they're going to feel the worst effects of it as over the years. And the schools group's aim is primarily to reach the children in primary and secondary schools. And in many ways, I mean, we've tried different approaches, and I think some have been very good, but I think in many ways, I think we're struggling because the schools are very busy. Teachers are incredibly busy people. Climate change is not mandated on the syllabus. And therefore, even though it's there, we have to encourage teachers to use it and to feel that they can still do NCEA, even though they're doing climate change and sustainability issues. So we're hoping to get a lot further next year, but I think we've been going through a learning process this year primarily, and we've been having some very, very important inputs from very, very good people in schools and Enviro schools, etc. But I didn't feel there's much to congratulate ourselves about. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Okay, anyone else? Oh, Bruno.
Yes, just a few reflections. I think one of the key things that we've decided to do in our group, and I'll talk a bit more later, is to actually look at all of the actions that we've got and strategize that we do things that are going to make a big difference and not waste a lot of time on little things that aren't going to make much difference. I mean, I know those little things are important, but if we want to make an impact, I think we have to start looking at the real key things that can make a big difference, and we have to sort of discuss that. And then that leads to another sort of a little bit of an issue for us, that we start off looking at climate change and the climate forum, and we've got some good strategies. And I believe that that New Zealand is generally behind that. But then we had a speaker a couple of Huis ago who expanded it, and I am in totally agreement with the expansion to diversity and all the other things he said. But it does make the job a lot more complicated when you've got multi-level issues that you're trying to tackle. Personally, I think we should focus just on the one issue of climate change, which is what we're set up for, and leave the other issues for our children and for our grandchildren if we can.
Thank you, Bruno. Okay. Last speaker on this bit.
Yeah, I just want to address that issue of how we view climate change and whether it in itself is the major problem or is a symptom of a bigger problem of ecological overshoot. And while I agree with Bruno that we can't deal with everything, what I do think is important as we focus on climate issues is to ensure we don't make the overshoot issue worse, because it's going to also make the climate issue worse in the long run. So I think it's a matter of perspective of how we incorporate that information that Bill Rees projected to us. And if anyone has not seen Bill Rees's presentation, I believe it is on the Climate Forum website, and I strongly encourage everyone to view it and encourage as many people as you can to view it, because it's quite an eye-opener. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to something that many of you contributed to both in the late November Hui, when we raised the question of what do you want to see, both from the forum and from our meetings, our Hui and other meetings. And there were some very helpful and interesting responses in that Hui. And we then did an email survey to which some of you responded, which gave us more information on the same two big questions. We added to that survey a question on COVID, because we needed to make a decision how to handle that. So that was also part of the survey. And I'm about now to summarize your input on what you want of the forum in 2022. In terms of its structure, you would like to strengthen existing teams. You would like to see more ethnic and iwi diversity, to get more people into the forum, including local scientists. With communication, you'd like, internally, you'd like more information on what all the groups are doing. Externally, you'd like a better website, more press and social media activity, advertisement, and some of you would like to engage celebrities. In terms of collaboration, you'd like to see that with other climate groups, with iwi. You'd like to have joint ventures with other groups and with the new and developing Nelson City Council team. In terms of information and ongoing understanding, you'd like more big picture on ecological overshoot, and also more on maintaining mental health of activists working under the stress of an existential crisis. In outreach, you'd like more community conversations, more events. You'd like us to go where people are, to market stalls, political parties, faith organizations. And finally, action. You'd like to see more grassroots mitigation and adaptation. And that concludes that summary. And I want to point out, although that survey had a closing date, which enabled us to summarize the input to that point, the survey is still open on the website, and your input will be read and taken into account if some of you who didn't contribute to the survey over the holiday period want still to contribute to the survey, where we continue to be interested in what you want to see. Okay, now looking ahead to 2022, earlier this month, the team of Marlene and Christina and Anya and I, and also we included Julie Nevin in this meeting, met to think about this, to take into account the survey, and to think, you know, how can we make a vibrant, highly active organization forging ahead in 2022. And we decided on several things. We looked at this advocacy work, and thanks for the input just now on seeing this as really quite an important fund, the forum, and acting at the systemic level of both central and local government action remains. We think it's important. And to do it well, we thought we should continue to try to do, say, 3 or 4 big, detailed consensus submissions a year. And as has been pointed out, this is a fairly big piece of work by a number of people, but also try to make it easier through providing templates for people to make quick individual submissions. There's lots of us don't have 10 or 12 hours to spend on developing a detailed submission, but we might have half an hour in which we could, if given a good template, make an individual submission. And our understanding of what happens at the other end when we make submissions is that the big, detailed, authoritative, referenced submissions do count, and they are weighted more, but also the number of individual submissions also count. We want to accomplish both. So we've refined our process for getting consensus on the big ones, but we want to encourage little ones too by everyone on quite a few issues. Okay, we talked about how we meet and what we accomplish in our meetings, and took into account your input on that topic, and made the following decisions: that we want to have a greater variety of kinds of meetings in the coming year. We will continue to have these Hui, where we all come together to learn about what we're all doing, to connect, to feel that we are a group, we're a tribe moving ahead together, and to learn what each is doing in the fairly broad range of sectors in which each of us work, and to also keep realigning our vision with the evolving changes around us. I think all of us are aware that the field is changing continually, and it's often a challenge to keep up with these changes and new information, and to keep us in step with each other. We need this knowledge input as we proceed through the year. For which reason, another kind of meeting that we'll have more of is webinars to inform and stimulate our thinking. And I was happy today to hear back from Mike Joy, who will give the first webinar of the year on March the 3rd on the topic of energy and food, as well as webinar. Oh, and also you should feel free to suggest webinar topics. As well as that, we will have workshops on the practical skills of low consumption living. We'll have movie nights with discussions. We'll have round tables with speakers on focal themes like food, energy, transport, land use, agriculture. And we'll have skills training sessions for smaller groups, for example, on support to prevent burnout, outreach skills, climate conversation skills. And in all of those meetings, we'd like to have a meeting at Whakatū Marae when our Te Reo translation of the Charter is complete. But for the months ahead, at least the few months ahead, it looks as if all of our meetings will be Zoom meetings. Okay, now a few minutes for your input on that general outline of where we're going, and then what we're going to do is ask group coordinators to report on what their group wants to accomplish immediately ahead. So let me just spend a few minutes getting your comments on that broad plan. What do you think something's missing from there? Is there something in there that you rather not have? What do you think about what we came up with? Marco, did you want to say something? Oh, you just want to approve. Thank you. Thank you. Good, good. Okay. Anyone want to? Yeah, Chris, good. Yeah. And then Carl or Becky. I can't see which arm it is. Chris.
Yeah, so what from that, what I guess is that what you're saying at a forum level is going to be advocacy and meetings, no actions, right? Actions are going to be at the group level. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so it's not wholly true, but it's largely true.
Okay. Because I've got an action I want to propose at forum level, but we'll save that then. Okay.
Oh, right. Please do. Yeah, there are some forum level actions in development. Now, yeah, Carl and Becky.
Hello. I just I was listening while I was gabbing outside, and I just thought I'd pop in and say I really like the idea of like doing like movie nights with like webinars and like, you know, getting people talking about these things, because just from that movie night that we put on a while back, the Happen Films one, I've just found that got quite a lot of interaction from younger members of the community, which I thought was really great. And I think through doing that and kind of webinars and, you know, proper workshops and meetings and things maybe like on particular topics, I really like the idea of that to draw more people in, because for me, like now that I've got Mira, it's a bit hard to come and sit through one of these meetings, but to hear about something like, oh, I'm interested in that topic, I want to engage in that, is a lot more appealing, something that I'd probably take more time out to do, rather than these sorts of meetings where I can feel like I get a bit lost if I have to step out for 5 minutes. But that's my input. Thank you.
Excellent, Becky. Thank you very much. Any other comments here? Okay. Yes, Robin.
Yes. One thing I thought, it sounds wonderful to me, but one thing I thought sounded like it was missing is something that Christina and I discussed right after she started working for the forum, and that is that it's to uncouple the idea that a project has to come from group meetings. That I think the idea that anybody can think of a project and that it can go onto a list that potentially Christina could help organize to publicize that throughout the forum and throughout our kind of entire mailing list to get people who are interested in just working on a particular action or project involved without having to go through all of the kind of group meetings. It ties in with what Becky was just saying as well. I think that might be really a good thing for us to look at and try to work into our process. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, totally support that, Robin. In fact, that possibility exists now at any time, and some of the broader, more whole forum things have to do with outreach, climate conversations, and encouraging getting out the climate action book, getting it into supermarkets, libraries, and so on, things that can involve absolutely everyone. Okay, I think it is time to hear from the group coordinators.
I do see a couple of hands
do we
up.
have someone from Make Buy Waste to speak to?
I could do that.
Great.
Oh, go ahead, Sharon.
Or Carlo. Yeah, Carlo's also here, but I just noticed there are two hands up. Tord and Bruno have had their hands up. I don't know who wants to go first. I'm happy to go, but they've had their hands up for a while.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. Yeah, actually, it would be helpful to me to do what Tord has just done, which is really helpful. It's easier for me to see that there's a hand there. And let me take note that you mentioned Bruno had his hand up. So let me give the floor to Tord and to Bruno, and then we'll come back to Sharon.
Just to point out.
Carlo.
Carlo.
Who's talking?
You are, Tord.
I think it's extremely important to engage and interact with the two councils, Nelson City Council and Tasman District Council. After all, the end point of all this work should be a reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions and an increase of the carbon sequestration. And these two councils are responsible, in a sense, for the land which is within their regions. So I think that the forum should have an ongoing dialogue and more interaction with the councils. I don't see on this meeting today any of the councillors, maybe I'm wrong, but it's a pity that they don't take more active part.
Thank you, Tord, and well said. I think there might be things we can do to encourage their attendance at the Hui. There are ongoing regular conversations with the staff, but yeah, I think we probably need to rope those councillors in to play a stronger part. So thank you for that comment. So Bruno, where are you? There you are.
Yes, just very briefly. I think one thing that's missing from this year's sort of plan in that list that you gave us is the audience. I mean, to me, the audience is critical, and it might be worthwhile going through that list that you have and actually jot down the audience. And if the audience happens to be us all the time and nobody from the outside, then it may not be the right direction.
Fair comment, Bruno. One of the plans for the webinars is to advertise them more broadly when we think we can bring in a bigger audience. So thank you for that. I think well conceived. Okay, can we now go to asking the groups what they are thinking of doing in the coming year, starting with whom? Carlo, is it?
Yeah, I can do that. Give a bit of a summary of what's been happening at our last meeting of the Make, Buy and Waste group. And maybe Sharon can add anything to it if there is anything I've omitted. So it was about 8 of us that met last week, and one of them was Karen Lee from Council. which does the advocacy around waste programs. And so quite a chunk of the time she presented what council's doing. So that connection there works really well in our group, and we've been having her joining quite a few times. She has, they have quite a focus on reducing organics and food waste to landfill. So they will have quite a focus on that with her within her budget there. They'll have another funding round for waste minimization projects, and I believe that's got about almost $50,000 in it. So that's leftover money. We, as a group, will just keep steaming ahead what we've been doing. So the Repair Cafe got $5,000 from council just by the end of the year. We had that approved. Within the Repair Cafe, we are a reasonably small team. So we are reaching out within the forum as well. If anyone is willing to donate some time in our coordination group or also on the days. Quite a few here tonight in the meeting are already doing something, which is wonderful. Yeah, so we got $5,000. We will deliver 6 repair cafes at least. Most of them are scheduled to happen at Habitat. And our group will continue with submissions and letter writing campaigns. That's the main things. And also council is revving up construction waste, sort of a business case for that. And we have someone associated with our group that will coordinate with council on that one. I think that was about.
Well said,
Carlo. I wanted
Carlo.
to summarize. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. And I really want to congratulate your group, which is really such a dynamic group that accomplishes so much. We thank you very much, Carlo and Sharon, and all that you work with. Chris, can you tell us what your group wants to do in 2022?
Okay, thanks, Joanna. Yeah. So for the Supporting Nature Storing Carbon group, which was the Ecosystem's Biodiversity group until sometime last year. Yeah, so there's sort of 2 levels we've been operating at. One is a more sort of strategic level, looking at can we identify sort of biodiversity hotspots that are particularly vulnerable to climate change, and also where there's potential for sort of enhancing carbon sequestration. So is there an overlap over sort of biodiversity and carbon sequestration possibilities where you could do actions in particular place and have the sort of dual benefits? And we've so been in discussions with both Nelson City Council and Tasman District Council over that. We've talked about starting a project in that area, and Nelson City Council have suggested that there's an Envirolink Fund which funds councils, which gives money for sort of research, for Crown research institutes and universities and so on, to undertake sort of reports, activities, synthesis of knowledge, which councils can then use. And so Lee Marshall of Nelson City Council is working with Envirolink now to develop a proposal around those lines. So that's one thing where our group thought it was something that we were going to have to lead, but in fact Nelson City Council has taken it up and running with it along with TDC as well. So we're there sort of in conversations with them, seeing how that goes, and we'll make inputs as it develops. So that's sort of the strategic level. At the practical level, again, led by Alison Pickford down at Snowdon's Bush, that's progressed well. So during the last year, we've done sort of a lot of plantings, weedings, and so on, and that's continuing now into the new year. There's a planting plan being done that sort of has to meet DOC's requirements. We're getting the local school involved in sort of like each kid adopts a plant to look after, getting ready for planting it in the winter time. So there's there's sort of a series of activities, and that's an ongoing group that's sort of if you like being spun off from the Climate Forum now. There's Friends of Snowdon Bush, which is taking on a bit of identity of its own, and linked into Tasman Environment Trust as well. And I think we'll be seeing more of those types of actions coming along next year. Alison is proposing 2 or 3 other sort of areas where we could get to work and work particularly with councils as well to encourage some activities along reserves and so on. Right, so, and the other thing that we'll be doing, same as last year, is submissions when those come up, like Tasman Environment Plan and so on. So that's now the other area that I wanted to talk about, which is not related to the group, but which goes to a higher level. Is it okay for me to talk about that now, or should I come back to it later?
If it's something that you're intending to do this year and you can be succinct, it would be welcomed.
Okay. So this builds on a conversation that I had with Karen Driver 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then came up again at the sort of the Zoom that Christina organized for the group sort of conveners, coordinators, of trying to get some coordinated sort of social marketing or PR campaign around climate change objectives at the local level here in Nelson, Tasman, so that sort of to facilitate all the outreach and to try and foster sort of changes of people's behavior at a wide level, sort of a population level. So, and that builds on sort of ideas that have been done, say, with the Smoke-Free Aotearoa 2025 campaign that ran for 20 years, and when people started thought, this is ridiculous, it's never going to work, but we're almost at 2025 and it almost has worked. It's not that far off. The same with the sort of aspirational predator-free 2050 program that's sort of started under National, has been continued with Labour, and who knows if we're going to make it or not, but there's a lot of people having a damn good try and putting money behind it as well. So there's, having sort of an aspirational goal is something that the forum could put out there and get a lot of other people to work towards. So I've had some conversations with Christina since then. We've also talked earlier today with Scott Nicol, sort of community engagement expert, and a sort of a media PR person called Debbie Hannon, who's now living locally. And she's also put us in touch with a real guru of social marketing based in Wellington called Tracy Bridges. And so there's the potential for some further work here around sort of workshop to develop a campaign for social marketing in this area for Nelson Tasman, and coming up with a sort of an objective, sort of an aspirational objective, and then the campaign that will go around promoting that to different groups and different sectors of society, businesses, schools, and so on. And so what we were talking about this morning, I mean, what we said, we'll throw this at the wall and see if it sticks. So this is the sort of what we were talking about is net zero Nelson Tasman by 2035. So as an objective, right? Who knows? But it's something that we could develop a campaign around. And so if that's something that people think is useful, and that's not necessarily what the objective is, but that's just an example of something that it could be. If that's something that people think is worthwhile working on, then I think we've got enough pro bono input to start a process there with these experts, these people who have heaps of experience in the area. And then we may need some seed funding from the forum to actually develop a campaign, and then we go out and get money to implement it. So that's sort of where we are. Yeah.
That's marvelous, Chris. So that's quite thrilling. Thank you so much for that. I have to make an apology. I just flicked to the other screen, and there is one of our councillors, Trindy Walker. Welcome, Trindy, and sorry for my suggestion that you weren't here.
You're welcome. That's okay. It's very hard to see when you're working off screens.
And
Thanks for your-
Daniela is there too.
Daniela indeed is really almost everywhere, much of the time, quite amazingly. Okay, energy group, Jack. What's the energy group doing?
Hi.
I want to do this year.
Well, we're at the stage where a large number of ideas, project ideas, have been proposed, and we thought that it would be useful to actually develop some criteria for selecting projects. Otherwise, people just sort of argue for their hobby horses. And we've come up with a partial list of criteria, and there's a little bit more work to do on that. And we're also quite eager to get something happening. I think everyone in the group feels that we really need to be getting something done around energy, but exactly what it might be is still unclear. So and we're still open to ideas. So we welcome any ideas people have for dealing with some of the objectives that have been put out in the original climate action plan, which was, a transition to renewables from fossil fuels, moving away from fossil fuels, and also energy reduction to deal with the overshoot issue and as well as the climate. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Schools group is represented by Colin, and Colin, you did tell us earlier a bit about what the schools group is doing. Is there any more that you want to add to that?
Yeah, quite a lot, really. We're hoping to do a lot this year, but we're hampered rather by having a very small group. So we would love extra members. Particularly, we'd like to bring in teachers because we need to be involved in what's happening in the schools. And at the moment, we're struggling to get into the classroom, into the department meetings. So we're in conversations with a lot of people in schools, but we're not there yet. And what ideally we'd like to do is to share department meetings, go in, talk to them about the forum, and share ideas about what can happen in the various subject areas, because it's a cross-curricular aspect. We're not just looking at science or maths, we're looking across the curriculum, and there's a huge impact schools can have. But at the moment, not a lot seems to be happening, except in schools where there's a really turned on teacher like Roger Waddell at Waimea College, who we're going to be meeting again very shortly. So we want to meet school principals, we want to meet the departments and talk about how we can help them to get the students more aware of climate change and responding to it. So there's a lot of things in the curriculum that can be used, but schools don't have to use them. And a lot of schools are not using them because they don't know how to use them. And that's where we could again come in by funding teacher professional development. And that's an area where the forum could maybe provide some funds to help us to get the right people to help with professional development, to help the teachers to feel more confident in approaching these topics in the classroom. We're doing a lot with Enviro schools. We've had inputs from the Enviro schools, a lot of the Enviro schools leaders. I'll be working with Enviro schools in Whenua Iti. They do outdoor sessions, and we'll be doing one on microforestry in April with primary school groups. So that's an exciting development, and I'm hoping to push microforestry in primary schools through that means. We're also going to have another Climate Art Expo following the very successful one we had this year with that David and his team organized, and we got 40 very interesting submissions to the Art Expo on the theme of how dare you? You remember Greta Thunberg's famous line. We also hopefully will go ahead and do some more supporting of science projects and science prizes as we did this year. There's a new area that's just been brought to my attention, which may be relevant to schools, which is something called Climate Fresque, which is a French initiative where they do 3-hour workshops and for schools as well as for tertiary and adults on climate change understanding and follow up to that understanding. So I'm going to go in for one of those workshops and hopefully become a coordinator, which we can then offer to schools in the region. So we're waiting to see how good that's going to be and how useful it will be. But otherwise, we're open to ideas.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you. David Eyre, could you tell us about what the Science, Technology and Research Group plans to do in the coming year?
Yeah, simple summary. When we talked about this at our first meeting of the year in January, a few days ago, basically there were two main things that were there. The first was the ongoing one from 2021 of assisting the work that Daniela and others are doing in Nelson City Council and Tasman District Council to do with setting up and creating a first benchmark set of community greenhouse gas emission statements for the Nelson and Tasman areas, of which there is another meeting tomorrow, and there will be ongoing work during the year. That's primarily a couple of us, but may well expand to involve others later on when we get to the point where there are draft statements being made and similar kind of documents. The other, which is very definitely a strong emergent theme, is the fact that the group was very clear about the fact that one of the main things we want to be dealing with in 2022 is interlinks between the forum, in particular the Science, Technology and Research Group, with agriculture. Since agriculture is one of the most, significant sector in terms of emissions, and that at the moment it's very important, as several people have said, I think, to actually focus on the things that are going to be significantly influential in terms of making major changes. So we are tracking off in that direction at the moment with the intention of following through on ideas to do with, for example, setting up a land use inventory survey, looking at various different areas that are being used in various different ways and ways in which they might be repurposed to reduce emissions and or increase sequestration. And that we are very clear that we would be very interested in and would very much welcome anyone with a background in science and or agriculture who would like to get involved in the work of STAR during that particular year, this particular year, because we want to focus our attention in that direction. That would be a short summary.
Thank you so much, David. Turning to Louise, from the Climate Action Plan Group.
Hello, everyone. This year we are working on continuing to distribute the Climate Action Book and the poster. The Climate Action Book, we just met earlier today and we talked about revising it around the middle of the year when there'll be new emissions data released around July. So we plan to probably have a small print run before then, and then we'll do a larger print run in the middle of the year once we've revised the Climate Action Book. And we're still, I feel like we still have a lot of work to do in terms of distributing it, getting it out to groups, and David's been doing a lot of really great work getting it into supermarkets and exploring that. And so we're going to continue trying to place it in libraries and supermarkets and places where people can take it and think about it and use it and talk about it, hopefully. Sort of as an addition to that, we did the poster, which was more a simple representation of the climate action book that most of you have probably seen, which touches on all the key points and is more of something for people to look at and hopefully spur them to action. And we released this, or we finished it late last year, and we still haven't done a lot to get it out there. We've taken, I am actually not sure how many copies are out there. I have about 20 copies and I printed 100. So I'd be interested of whether anyone's got any feedback on having any copies and where they've taken them and where they've had luck placing them. We're hoping to get these into sort of on bulletin boards, community centres, cafes, staff rooms in people's businesses, people's places of work. And David, what we'll hope to do in the next couple of months is send out a high resolution copy of the poster so that people can print it off at home and maybe put it on their local bulletin board at their local cafe or grocery store, and it will enable more people within the forum to actually use the poster and help distribute the poster. I think our problem at this point is that we have these copies of the poster and we just have not had a really clear or we haven't had a lot of great energy around distributing it out into the community. So that's our at the forefront of our thinking right now, is how to get it out there. And I think that's it for Climate Action Book.
Thank you, Louisa. In fact, that's one of the projects that really involves everyone. So probably everyone has at least one place they could put a poster up, and everyone goes to the supermarket, so everyone could ask their supermarket if they could put a little display stand with the books there. So yeah, that's a forum-wide project. Okay, thank you, Louise. And Anne, a few minutes to talk about the Earth Emotions exhibition.
Thanks, Joanna. This is something that's involves the strategic comms and the society and culture groups. It's an upcoming collaborative exhibition of photography dedicated to sharing experiences of the crises we've unleashed. So as we were talking about earlier, this is broader: climate, biodiversity, soils, atmosphere, fresh water, oceans, forests, and in our own health. Quite broad. The exhibition is open to everyone in the top of the South over 13 years of age, and regardless of level of photography skill. It's not aimed at professional or advanced photographers. Any camera can be used, and entries can be post-processed in any way the photographer wishes, so you can go wild. There are 3 categories: experiences and emotions, action and response, and future visions. To date, we have over 60 images entered by 15 photographers, and we have about 3 weeks to go before the closing date for entries in the middle of February. When people enter images, we're asking them to tick how they heard about the exhibition. Until very recently, almost everyone who had entered images had heard about it through Instagram, where there's a promotion been going on since October. But several several people have indicated other recently, which is a way of saying they've heard about it through the grapevine. So the other media, such as the forum newsletter, forum events, local news media, and Facebook, haven't really been too successful in getting entries. It's mostly been through Instagram, which is a photography-oriented thing anyway. So where is this going? Well, first, I'd like to invite forum members to submit images. There are a couple of submissions from forum members, but, you know, and it's great that the submissions are from other people, but if you want to submit, please do. After February 15th, when the submissions close, once it's clear how many images we have and we can look at all of them, we'll need to prepare an online version of the exhibition, and COVID permitting, we're hoping to do one or more pop-up versions that can be projected to save money, because this is being run on a shoestring, at venues around Nelson, Tasman. So it would be great to launch the online and first pop-up exhibitions in conjunction with Earth Day, which falls on the 22nd of April this year. The project is currently being managed by a pair of curators with help from Anya on publicity. The curators are Emma Hughes, who is a photography educator, and myself. And we need some help. We will need help down the track. I know there's a lot of people who've been asking for help, but here's another request. We need help to identify venues that would be interested in us putting the pop-up exhibitions there. And we need to source some projection equipment. And we'd like to find people who'd be willing to run the pop-up exhibitions at venues in places like libraries, village halls, or, you know, wherever we can get permission to put a pop-up exhibition. And if you want to enter images, you can do that by just going to the website or the last newsletter. The link for the online entry form is there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. That we really look forward to that evolving through the year. Now, it's taken quite a long time to talk about what people in this forum are aspiring to do this year, and very impressive actually to hear this great multiplicity of plans. And I bet that I have left something or someone or some group out. Oh, Bruno, how could I possibly have not gone to you, please?
Thank you. I was getting worried there.
Yes, no wonder.
Just to carry on from what I said before about things that are strategically important, which is what we're focusing on. That land sport, and if you don't mind, I just wouldn't mind talking a little bit about submissions. That land transport clean energy bill was a complete waste of time. Essentially, what we said didn't even make the headlines anywhere. And a lot of the submissions were about which parts of the other legislation didn't meet in with that and which had to be changed and so on. And so there was almost nothing that we said that was useful in terms of the submission. However, I have to say one thing. The ACT Party actually picked up one of our ideas and turned it against the government. So, oh God, I don't know how they managed to do that, but they did. And so that submission was useless because it isn't worthwhile doing, I don't think. Whereas the other submission that's coming up now, the walking and cycling strategy from TDC, please, 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 everyone, go to the submission site at TDC, whether you're from Nelson or whether you're not, and fill it in. It's brilliant. Well, it's got a few warts in it, but essentially we're going to put a submission out and saying this is fantastic. It's groundbreaking. It's basically saying that what they're trying to do is get people out of cars, almost everyone out of cars they can, onto bikes, walking and buses. And it sets a really good example for other councils, in particular our neighbouring council, the Nelson City Council. And I think if this gets through, we can hold this up as a sort of little beacon about what can actually be done. But unfortunately, it's so good that, well, I think it's so good that people like us probably won't bother submitting because it's fantastic. But we have to submit, because if we don't submit, there'll be pushbacks that we actually have to neutralize and say, look, we really like this. I don't know whether I have time to read. There are three, the quick submission has got 3 questions in it. And it's, I can very quickly read them out just so you've got some idea of what they're about. The first one is, how much should walking and cycling be part of our urban transport journeys in 2050? And there's 5 tick choices. The second one, and they go up in percentages. The second one, have we got the right key principles to guide the walking and cycling strategy? There are 3 choices. And the third one, do we have the right actions to meet targets? Are they appropriate? Tick 1, and there's 11 choices. And then there's 3 open-ended questions. Now, look, it's not going to take people long to do that submission. But look, please do it, because numbers count. Absolutely, numbers count. Yes, we'll put in the submission that we like it, but that doesn't really carry a lot of weight as such. The numbers is what carries weight. So that's my little plea to you.
Thank you very much, Bruno. There's your climate action for tomorrow morning.
Yes, yes, please. It's not due till the 7th of March, and we propose to run it through the normal system. But look, if you do it tomorrow, then you won't forget about it.
Thank you.
Now, the other thing in terms of what we're doing this year, the one thing that we've put right on top of the priority list is, if we want to take cars off the road, we have to supply decent public transport. And so our top priority is to get the public transport system working really well. And it's, again, Nelson City Council is a little bit reluctant with the sort of things that we're trying to push. TDC is a bit more open. So we're going straight to Wakakotahi, really, into giving some plans. First of all, how we can give buses priority when they pull out of traffic to make more people interested in using buses. And secondly, getting bus priority lanes. Now, Yakal, who is an engineer in our group, is about to submit to the Nelson City Council a really good proposal where for very little cost and very high efficiency, we could tap into Beatson's Avenue that gives buses priority. So that's probably all my time. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Bruno. What your group has been doing is really impressive, and I know has involved a great deal of hard work. Now, who else have I left out of this? And just I'll flick to the other screen to make sure that I see David Bartle's hand up. David. Unmute yourself, David.
Okay. Is it all right?
Yes, we can't see you. Yes, there you are.
Anya led the Arts Plus project, and others contributed, including several people here tonight. And I think we did work incredibly hard. We put hundreds of hours into this project. One of the things we achieved is discovering better how we can communicate with school teachers. And they are a fairly sizable group of our community. So the StratComms group has thought quite a lot about how we can interact with our external audience now that we've got some of our internal communications better sorted. And so that journey is just starting, really. So I think over this coming year, there are plenty of opportunities for us to collaborate on that. And I think it's helpful, actually, if topic groups have insights about better ways to communicate externally to feed them into our group so we can make sure they're shared across the forum. So I wanted to congratulate Anya and Anne and all the others in our team to the work they've done, and that's enough for now.
Thank you so much to your group and everyone in it who works so hard at maintaining the website and many other communication media. Thank you very much. Now, is there anyone else that I have left out? Oh gosh, I just flicked off a hand. It was Peter Kemp. Oh, right, Peter. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just adding into just what David said and perhaps what Robin said a long time ago. There's a little group of 3 people in the Quaker organization, and the Quaker organization has just become affiliated to the Forum Charter. So there are a little group of 3 people there who would like to take climate conversations into the community in small groups, and would very much like it to dovetail in with the kinds of climate conversations that the Forum would like to see happen in the community. Yeah, so I guess it's just a good thing to flag that, and we'll need to develop a kind of framework for conducting the conversations. And yeah, so the skills training is attractive that you mentioned before, Joanna. Climate conversation skills training, and just how we go about it is unclear. Yeah, and the framework's unclear, but the energy is there. There's 3 of us, me, Christine Gillespie, and Jan Marsh.
Oh, that's very interesting to me, Peter, and I'll be in touch with you about that.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so glad you reported that. Thank you. Now, did I see Sharon Brinson's hand up about something?
No, that was just me putting the thumbs up. I'm just using the signs for
righto. Okay. I see John Paul's hand up.
Yeah, I don't want to take any time up because I know we're running right to the end of our meeting, and I've been pretty much disconnected from the forum and my group recently. But yeah, the Society and Culture group has really been around engagement, and that will continue to be, and try and draw people into the forum in novel ways. And that, I guess that fits into a lot of the things that you've talked about in terms of what people want, in terms of different types of meeting areas or different ways of meeting up and connecting with the forum, which I think we're in danger of falling down the same into the same grooves as we've all our groups have been in the past before the forum. I think one of the areas I'd really like to get into would be, I guess, it relates to some of the things that have been mentioned in that our disconnect from council in some ways, and we're still in this process of writing submissions, which is, I don't think it's where we should be. We should be before that process and very much part of the council thinking. And and I'd always hoped that we would be some kind of citizens' assembly by now, and maybe that's where we could try and create something similar to that. Yeah, anyway, that's where we're at. And I guess from a group's point of view, we're less weaving and more creating threads in the community. So
a provocative thought. It's very interesting thought. Now let me flick screens to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. I think I'm not. We are running out of time, and the reason we're running out of time is that there were so many huge range of things to report that people in this forum are planning to do this year, which is slightly overwhelming. I'm really very impressed to hear the plans of people in the forum for the coming year. So not much time left, but let me open it for a few minutes in case there's cross communication. Does anyone want to say anything to another group or see collaborative possibilities to just note that rather than expand upon it? Let me leave it open for a minute. I see a cross connection with what Peter Kemp reported from the Quaker group, and can think of, I'd really like to connect. Does anyone else see anything like that they want to note before we move on to the closure? Okay, I'm just flicking screens to make sure I don't miss anyone, and I think we can move on. All right. The very last thing that I want to note is that the people in the forum have very creative and absorbing ideas for what we all want to do this year. It's hard work, and we work in, we could say, a stressful context of a profound threat. And sometimes we overdo it and we get stressed and we burn out. We want to take care of people in the forum in the coming year as you do the wonderful things that you've described here. And to that end, two of us who aren't here tonight, actually names mentioned by Peter Kemp, Christine Gillespie and Jan Marsh, are offering to train a few of us, doesn't need to be very many, but a few of us who would be point people if you're overdoing it and getting overwhelmed. So if you're the kind of person who would relish that job of being a support person for others, let either me or Marlene know, because we would like to have that kind of support for forum people as you do this wonderful array of things through this year. Now, I shall, in a moment, I'll close with a karakia, but let me just check whether there are any last words that anyone feels really should be said before we finish. And I'm going to flick screens a few times to make sure that anyone with last words gets an opportunity to say anything. And it seems everyone is very disciplined and has said what they want to say.
Joanna, can I just say from someone outside the district, and to you all, just bloody impressive. Excellent.
I love your last words. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. That's so nice.
Every community should have a Nelson Tasman group. Yeah.
We'll add that to our list.
Okay.
Okay. This karakia is one that I have used before closing meetings. It's the one where we've all been out on the ocean rowing our waka in harmony, in synchrony, and we've come to the shore, we've climbed out, and we're just reviewing our journey, and we're looking at our breath. It's the night, it's the ancestor of the ocean, it's the power and the unity of the tribe. As we join, as we're united and ready to pursue our purposes. Ko te hā, ko te pō, ko tangaroa, ko te mana, ko te kōtahitanga o ngā mata waka. Haumi e, hui e, taiki e. Thank you, all you impressive climate.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Joanna. Nice to see you all.
Kia ora. Thanks, Joanna.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.